Hello, everybody. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome. Welcome to our first meeting of the Gladys Taber Book Club. We've all been doing our thing all week, and this is the first chance we've had for some of us to get together. We should hopefully have one more person showing up, but a few people were not able to make the live tonight, and I'm sorry about my glasses. I remembered to apologize for them a couple of times in my videos this week because I'll be editing and I'm like this giant glare, and I'm like, oh my goodness, it's awful. So,
Size for mine, but if I don't wear them, I can't see you.
Same.
yeah, I know. I have contacts in, but and I can see distances, but if I need to actually read the comments or something, then I got the world was that. Okay, there we go. I need to close some windows because I hit a notification to what I thought I was going to close it, but I must have accidentally opened it. Let me just turn off my other windows. Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to everyone in the chat. Why don't we, before we go to the comments, let's just go around everybody. Probably everybody knows each other, but this exact group has not met up together before in a live. So, and we don't know who else coming in from whose channels and everything. So let's just go around. We'll go clockwise, starting with Sonia. Just go ahead and remind everybody of your channel name, and let's do a couple of little icebreaker things. How about I started to do like 2 truths and a lie, but we won't get into that. That's so that is kind of fun though to do. But why don't you just tell us some of your favorite book genres, and or what you like, your favorite authors other than Gladys Taber. Who are some authors and genres that you like to read, and what you mostly talk about on your channel? So, Sonia, you're on.
All right. My name is Sonia. My channel is Sonia with an I. I've been a booktuber for a little bit over a year. I just recently hit a big milestone for me. So I made 1,000 subscribers. So I'm pretty excited about that. I've been celebrating that all week, as well as Gladys's birthday. So my favorite, I tend to read in the cozy vein, cozy mysteries mostly, but I like cozy books, period. So I love cozy fantasy. I love anything that makes you feel like that you're just with a warm cup of coffee and a cozy blanket and a fireplace and all of that. I do a lot of aesthetic with my booktube videos. So I might bake, or I might take you through the forest, or something. I'm still trying to figure out who I am. I'm 50 years old, trying to figure out who I am as far as like on booktube. But I really enjoy reading Gladys, of course. But some of my favorite cozy mystery writers, Susan Whitting Albert. She does the Cottage Tales of Beatrix Potter, and that's a very cozy series. I love that. I love, of course, when people ask you your favorite books are, you tend to totally just like blank out and can't come up with anything. I love, my favorite book of all time is Watership Down and The Hobbit. So um, I love Tolkien. I like the fantasy elements, but I also have a lot of other genres that are I read a little bit of everything. So, and that's what I kind of do with my channel, is just to show that, diversity in reading, but also just to find coziness and taking the moments, the small moments. It's one of the reasons I love Gladys. She always reminds us to celebrate the small moments. And Jen, you're up.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Jen from Jen's Reading Life. And like Sonia, I have just been on BookTube. I started my channel in February of 2024. So it's been a little over a year for me as well. And I love to also read cozy books. Maybe I read a little bit differently than Sonia does. I do like mysteries. I tend not to read like mysteries that are really classified as cozy per se. I'm more like, if it's at the Agatha Christie level, that's what I consider to be cozy for my personal tastes. So Agatha Christie is one of my favorite authors. And I love to read women's fiction, particularly women's fiction from Britain in the early part of the 20th century, like early 1900s through about 1960. That's kind of a sweet spot for me right now. Some of my favorite authors Lori Colwin is probably one of my favorite authors, and I have been promoting her as much as I can because I feel like she is underrated and underloved, and everybody should read her. She's fantastic. I love Rosamund Pilcher. As I said, Agatha Christie. Right now, I'm in a huge D.E. Stevenson kick. I've read 2 books by her, and I'm just starting a 3rd one this month alone. So that is really fun. So again, I do like cozy books, and on my channel, I really do like to bring books and authors to the forefront that don't hear talked about a lot, because there are so many wonderful books out there, backlist books, books that were written in the 20th century and the 19th century, and all, just even books that were written 10 years ago that people aren't talking about anymore. Like, you don't have to read the most current books to read wonderful stories. So I really like to share those as much as I can. So that is me.
If I could interject, both of y'all have recently started reading Mrs. Polifex. So
Yes.
I know that about each other. So, yeah, Sonia, you just read the first one so far, right? But,
yes, I love it.
But Jen has been binging.
Yes, I'm on book 7 now. I'm just about to start book 7.
But you are binging, Mrs.
Yes.
Which Sonia likes to do too. She likes to binge.
I'm a binge reader, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Lindsey.
I'm Lindsey from Lindsey Reads, and I can't exactly remember when I started BookTube. I think it was January 2019, but it's a bit of a blur because I watched BookTube for years before that. I think it was January 2019. As far as what I read almost anything from poetry, classics, nonfiction, all the genres. Like, I'll read almost anything. That's one reason I like BookTube, because I can participate in all the reading events and read all the genres and enjoy it all in one. As far as favorite authors, like, again, my mind goes a blank and I'm like, I can't pick a favorite.
Thank you. I'm not
really
alone in that.
now I have to look at my shelves. I don't even know. Like, I like Gladys Taber. And as far as like nonfiction, like in her vein, I mentioned Edwin Way Teale. That's how my journey of how I found Gladys Taber. So I'll pick him, and he's like one of the out of print authors as well. But yeah, I'm blanking on a favorite, but yeah, I have many favorites.
You read a lot of nature writing, don't you? Nature and do you do travel writing also, or just nature?
Yeah. For nonfiction, like nature, travel writing, history, biography, memoirs, science, psychology, all of it.
Yeah, that's cool. You've got a head full of knowledge, I guess.
Yeah, that's how I kind of think of it. Like after like college, I can still learn, all through books and get educated.
Yeah. So I'm Elizabeth, even though my channel is Lizzie Faye Loves Books. Back when we first got our first computer with AOL Online, I made Lizzie Faye my email address, and it's just always been Lizzie Faye. But my middle name is Faye. That's where the Faye comes in. I love cozy things also, but I also love a good thriller, not necessarily a psychological thriller, but stuff that'll get intense. But my favorite fiction book of all time is A Redbird Christmas by Fannie Flagg. And my favorite series of all time is the Mitford series by Jan Karon, which are over there, my favorites. And just above it is my second favorite series of all time, which is the Miss Julia series by Anne B. Ross. Love them. But as far as just the older authors, Gladys has definitely moved up into the top 5. But I also love Lucy Maud Montgomery, Laura Ingalls Wilder, Grace Livingston Hill, and I guess Gladys Taber has moved up there into the top 5. So I've never been a big classics reader, but I love the simpler time. I really love books that are geared more for younger readers, because they're usually not graphic, and they're just easier going. Not necessarily today's middle grade, but yeah. In fact, I think I mentioned in my video this morning, I don't know if anybody had time to watch that long video. I realized both of my videos this past week were like almost 50 minutes long. So I don't know if anybody had time to watch all that, but I mentioned that I'm not a big classics reader, but I tried Keats because Gladys read Keats, and that 1001 books you should read before you die that This Reads a Lot is doing. I couldn't do all that. I've looked at some of those 1001 books, and I'm just not interested in any of those except for the children's ones, that the ones in that segment, the children's classics. those I love, but the other stuff is just too, I don't know, it's too out there for me. You have to think too much. I don't want to think to read. I want to just enjoy it. Well, I want to start tonight with something that Steve, I don't know if y'all saw Steve's video today. He did a little review of My Own Cape Cod. He said that's his favorite Gladys Taber because I think he's lived on Cape Cod before. But he has some really good analogies or I don't know if analogy is the right word or metaphors for Gladys Taber's writing. And one thing he said today that I had to write down because I love this. He says, readers went to them because it was the equivalent of pulling a warm blanket over your shoulders on a windy winter night. I love that. I just thought that was great. So it's no wonder that Steve is a writer too. So that was a really good thing. And I just appreciate you guys so much for doing this with me this week. I appreciate Sonia. This would not have been possible without Sonia because she's the one that introduced me to Gladys Taber. She's the one that first read, that I knew of, that read Hal Borland and made me start thinking, oh, I should read like Gladys Taber too. So that, and someone even commented to Steve's video today. They're like, Lizzie Faye didn't come up with Gladys Taber Week. That was Sonia. Sonia's the one that told Lizzie Faye about Gladys.
No, you did all the work, honey. All I did was pick up a book at a book sale and started reading it. It was like, hey, I kind of liked it. I picked up the cover. I didn't even read it. I was like, I like this cover. The Still Bit of a sampler cover, which is beautiful. And
it is. Talked
about it at a live one night. Yeah. Like, I'm loving this. And you went with it. It was
well, and it's that word of mouth that gets me to read a book. It's not Goodreads descriptions. It's not the back of a book. It is somebody telling me, hey, I read this book and I loved it and maybe a little bit about it. And it's that personal recommendation. So that's how I learn about and get interested in new authors. But I replied back and I was like, it was a team effort. I said it sure wouldn't have been possible without her. But,
well, thank you. Anyway. I'm loving seeing and meeting people that, I didn't know and them talking about her.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Bless you. And one thing, I don't know if you remind me bringing this up, but since I already mentioned Steve, and let's just mention Steve and Mark from Richardson Reads because they both brought videos to the week. And Sonia was saying to me in a Voxer message, she's like, I didn't even think about men.
I didn't.
Enjoying reading. Expand on that a little bit. You're like, maybe that's sexist, but I didn't think about
that. I watched Mark's video. I was astonished that he found her as a teenager. Like, I feel like today's world, like I could never picture like a 16-year-old boy picking up Gladys Taber and like voluntarily and then enjoying it. So I was like,
I thought the same thing, but then I thought, well, it is about nature. Like my Uncle Elmer, I think he would have read her because he loved nature. My nephew Christian loves nature, loves all of that. And, I don't know why I just didn't put two and two together. But I told her, I was like, I feel like I'm being a little bit sexist here. And I'm totally not meaning to, but I was just kind of surprised. But I'm loving that, too. I love that it's not a gender genre. Like anybody can read that and love it. And because, it's not just women who need coziness. Men need it, too. I mean, the men probably need it just,
a warm blanket over their shoulders.
Warm blanket over their shoulders as much as we do. So I loved it. I mean, I loved just hearing people talk about her. I'm kind of a little bit stunned almost that, and not because she's a fantastic writer, but just that this, like I said, this random book that I picked up at a book sale that I went to today on her birthday and picked up that book 3 years ago that sat on my shelf for a year and then just randomly picked it up because I was wanting to get rid of some books and thought, oh, I want to read. It's just, it's amazing to me. It's kismet, I guess. I don't know.
Well, and I think we have at least one male in the comments. Maybe a couple. Michael McCarty, he comments to several of our videos, and he likes to read cozy mysteries and things like that. So, Michael, if you're in the chat still, let us know if you've yet read any Gladys. If you had heard of her before this, let us know your thoughts about reading and hanging out with us girls,
And I hope that doesn't offend anybody or anything. I don't think that men don't. I think men can read anything they want to.
Absolutely.
I don't think anything is gender-based. But I thought it was just a little surprise. It surprised me.
Yeah. Michael's in the Cozy Reader Book Club, so.
Go ahead, Jen. I'm sorry. What?
Michael's in the Cozy Reader Book Club, so he reads with us ladies all the time, every month. And he's such a wonderful addition. He always has such insightful things to say. So, yes, I think men
I
can
love
enjoy
that.
cozy books too. So,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Very cool.
Yeah.
We have a married couple in my in real life book club, and they're both very outspoken and hilarious, but they're like probably about age 70, maybe, maybe not quite, somewhere around that. But we were getting ready. They had to miss a week, and the book we were going to read, I forget now what it was, but he goes, and sometimes he'll bring up comments about whether it was like geared towards females or geared towards males or whatever. And he's like, whatever book it was, he's like, that was the most women book I've ever read, but it was 5 stars. So I loved it. You know? So he was acknowledging, it was geared towards women, but he could still appreciate the value of it, so that was pretty good. All right, let's look at some comments. Any other comments from you guys before we read some of the comments?
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, I found her, like I was saying, through Hal Borland and other like nature writers, other male nature writers, before I found her, woman author. And I was gonna say, I'm so happy to be involved in this week's celebration, because I've read her for years, not as long as Mark or Steve, but I thought, she was like a completely unknown writer. I thought I was like the only one over here reading her. It's so
you
fun
kind
to
of were
find her.
until Sonia found her, because I don't think Steve had really even thought about her in a long time. He still had the Cape Cod book, but the other stuff that he showed, which looked like it was an ebook on his Kindle, I think was just a picture of the covers, because none of those books are on Kindle, as we know. We haven't been able to find them, but yeah, I think you have been probably reading her the longest, especially, of us here. I know you have. And speaking of Hal Borland, real quick, before we get to the thing, I was, I did a video this morning talking about a lot of the different authors that Gladys read. And so today I'm out cleaning in my garage, and look what I found. One that I never even heard of. Homeland. Have you read this one?
Yeah, I have it on my shelf too. Yeah.
Oh, nice. So I don't even know what this is about. This is not one of the ones that's available on audio. Is this one an adult book? It seems kind of short. It says it's a report from the country. It looks like it's a seasonal book. So,
I've never heard of who is Hal Borland? I don't know Hal Borland.
He was a friend of Gladys's. And in my video this morning, I talked quite a bit I spent the most time on him, because he's the author that I talked about this morning that is the easiest to find. 7 of his books are on audio and ebook that you can find on Hoopla and Everand and everything. I recommend there's one that people, and I won't spend a lot of time here. Y'all can go watch the video if you can find your way. There are some timestamps. It's a long video. I know you can speed it up. There's one that's a fiction book that apparently a lot of people read in school, and it's about a Native American boy called When the Legends Die, because I was reading some reviews and people were like, yeah, I haven't read this since I was in school and blah, blah, blah. But you could start there, or you could start with High, Wide, and Lonesome, which was his childhood memoir. Sonia read This Hill, This Valley, which is a memoir of his adulthood with his wife. I started that one, and then I kind of dipped in and out of several so that I could talk about them. But him and Gladys were friends. Hal and his wife Barbara knew Gladys, and and that's the cool thing about Gladys is that not only was she just a big reader, she was friends with a lot of other authors, and she's always bringing them up in her books and talking about them. So today I talked about Faith Baldwin, which I think was one of like her best. They would have been booktube friends, Faith Baldwin, and some others that I don't know if she knew, like James Thurber, but she talked about reading him, and of course
Barbara Webster. She did. She exchanged letters with Barbara Webster, whose husband illustrated a plethora of her books, but Barbara Webster was also an author too.
I've looked her up and I can't find much.
Same, yeah. I've tried. Once I read that book, I was like, I need
magazines and stuff.
I think she did a lot with Ladies Home Journal and stuff, like like with the magazines. But she does have a book called A Horse of Her Own, and but I cannot find it in any sort of like public domain. And the copies that I've found it's just astronomically priced. So I'm guessing she's probably no, I know she's no longer in print, and it's one of those. Maybe someday I'll look into it on a thrift hall or in a thrift store.
And tell us
And with her and
say.
Gladys both like writing so much for these journals, like I wish they had collected them and published
Yeah.
their
Yes.
stories, because I feel like they're completely lost now.
Well, maybe somebody could, I mean, there have to be back issues of those. I'm sure. I mean, every magazine that's existed has created kept back issues and things. So there's got to be a collection somewhere. Somebody could go through and collate them. And
I know
put them
some
into a
crazy
book.
person that spent a lot of time one night just looking on eBay and Mercari and all the things, just looking for Ladies' Home Journal or Family Circle from 1963 to 1976. I don't know who that might have been.
But tell us who you discovered today that actually wrote books. Gladys
Well, Constance Taber, who's Gladys Taber's daughter. Her name, Constance Taber, I can't remember her last name, but she has also written 2 books. One of them is called Living with the Family Skunk, and it's about they raised a skunk on their farm.
Oh.
And the other one is a tale of their life in Brooklyn, or like living in New York. So she has 2 books published as well. The skunk book I actually have coming from the library, the interlibrary loan. Yes, they raised.
I'm on this page. This is Still Meadow Road, and I'm on this page right now with this.
How funny.
Constance Taber Stabler, I think is her last name. Stanton's. I'll have to look it up. My brain. I don't have the best of memories. But she has published 2 books as well, and she wrote an insert or an introduction into another one of Gladys's books. So there's another one that I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to read her too and try to find that. This is becoming a hobby.
I think that her daughter Constance did the renewals of some of the books when they came up for renewal. So she's probably in her name is probably in the
I've seen her name on a cover.
Copyright page. I'm just looking to see if she renewed
the Cape Cod Journal, I think is what it's called. Cape Cod Journal.
Oh, Constance Taber Colby. There
Colby.
we go.
It is Colby. Okay. Oh, there you go. Yeah. Yay. Awesome.
The View from Morningside is the book about her family's New York experience. And then A Skunk in the House is the other one. So she has put 2 of her own published books. I had to look that up.
Sorry. I need to. I would love to find those. Thank you for bringing that up, because I am forever out and about looking at for stuff, and I even have. I have a garage full of things that I don't know what I have, so I've got to keep going through those things. If y'all don't know, Jen, if you don't know, I work at a used bookstore, and they've started giving me the discards, and sometimes I find treasures in that. I have like 2 big boxes ready to go to the thrift store, but I get to bring them home and go through them, and then take what I don't need, and then I can keep what I do want, and that's where I found this one. And also I've done book pickups at like estate sales and stuff, and then I'll just bring them in the garage and box them up, and I have no idea what I have. So that's my spring cleaning job, is to get through the garage. And now that I have all these new to me old authors, I'm hoping I'll find some in there. Yeah. Okay, let's check out the comments. So Mother Goose Librarian Amy was the first one here. Hello, everyone. Happy birthday, Gladys. Loved all the Gladys videos this week. Thank you. Thank you so much. So Amy, you probably have told us later in the comments, but everybody in the comments, tell us if you've read any Gladys, if you already knew about her before this week. I know that Cammie did. Cammie's next. She is a Gladys expert. She's been reading Gladys for a long time. But everybody in the chat, let us know what you've read, what you next plan to read. Are you currently reading one right now? That type of thing. So we have, Cammie. Cammie has been posting on Instagram this week. I was hoping she'd come in to the live chat today, and be on camera, but she's like, no, I don't do videos. So Cammie, we're glad that you're here in the chat. So thank you. And no pressure at all. But I want everybody to know that, you were invited, but there's no pressure. So Teresa Glasgow, hello, and happy birthday, Gladys. Now, if y'all recognize some of these names from your own channel, just let me know, like, oh yeah, I know her, because I'm going to see some names that I don't know. So Deborah, hello. I says, I'm very happy that our library carries quite a few. Yay. Oh, that's awesome.
That's
My
great.
library has seven different ones, and they have 2 copies of this one. So they have a total of 8. Jen, did you say your library doesn't have any?
No, I mean, I'm in California, so you know she's definitely an East Coast author. So I think,
Yeah.
but Michael, he and I live not far from one another, and
Okay.
he mentioned on my video that the Oakland Public Library has some copies of her. I'm going to go through our intra library loan and see if I can get maybe a few that way. So
Yeah.
I got this from the St. Louis County Library, and this is Miss Daffodil. I've never seen this listed for less than $200 or $300, so I was like, I probably will never get my hands on this. But I was fortunate enough to. I'm almost finished reading it, but I was almost. And this is fiction, but it's really not. It's really her life, but she changed the names. It's. I don't know if because she's kind of outspoken on some things that I don't think she was allowed to be in her articles and stuff. So I think that's why this was written, because she has some opinions about things that I don't think would have been popular then. So I don't know, but this is really enjoyable.
And aren't you glad that some little young librarian youngster who was weeding one day didn't look at that and go, oh, this is gross, I might take this out of circulation?
Well, when I take it back, I'm going to be, is there any way I can get my name on, if you get rid of this, I want this?
Right.
No, because
that's a good idea.
I want to keep it. You know,
our library, one of our local libraries, has the Still Meadow and Sugar Bridge, which I don't have, and it still has in the back the little pocket with the card in it. So I made a little Post-it note that you can barely see peeking out from behind that card that I tucked in there, and I left my name, and I don't know what else. I was just like my name and maybe my number. I don't know. I was like, I'm a library patron. Thank you for still having this book. But if you ever decide to weed it out, please call me.
The flower arranging book that you talked about is on its way. I got it from our library.
So how many of y'all have read about Gladys talking about arranging flowers in what just sounds like there's no way this would hold flowers? I mean, she talks about like these very shallow dishes, and I'm thinking, how? I guess so, but wow. And I've seen a few photos, and it's like, wow, that's quite a talent. So,
I may do a video and do a floral arrangement.
Oh,
like
yes. That would be amazing. That would be awesome.
Pull out my floral days.
So, Michael, I didn't mean to skip over you. He says, Happy Gladys Day. Love your thumbnail. That's awesome. Yes. What are you reading in your thumbnail, Michael?
Welcome. I'm so glad you're here, Michael.
You have to tell us what you're reading in your thumbnail.
Yes.
And Tiffany's here. Tiffany is our esteemed host of the Killing Time with Cozy's group, and she's usually the one up in this corner hosting the live streams that I go on. She says it's Beverly Cleary's birthday.
Yay! Happy birthday, Beverly Cleary.
Oh, very cool. And
104.
How many?
104.
104.
And she just died a couple years ago. I think she lived past 100.
Yeah.
And y'all know, I'm pretty sure I have the right person. She was Debbie Maycumber's librarian.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Up in like Washington or
in Yakima, I think.
Beverly Cleary's from Oregon. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. She was, I don't know if it was the school librarian or the city librarian, but Debbie Maycumber has talked about that in some of her nonfiction.
My childhood cat's name was Click-a-Tap because
of
Click-a-Tap Street.
Yes.
Cute. That's awesome. All right. And so Tiffany is just answering back. That's great. Yes, that is great.
And Tiffany is going to be reading her first, too. Still Meadow Sampler, I believe, is going to be her first.
Oh, awesome.
Read. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, now that she's had her eyes, she's got her new specs and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So very good. So Teresa says, I didn't know that. How nice. And it's also Susan Branch's birthday. And a lot of people find Glattus Taber through Susan Branch. And they have the same birthday. Yeah.
Yep.
I was going to yell at Mitzi because now I have another library book that I have to read because we talked about this in her video.
Yes.
I am reading The Fairy Tale Girl right now. I had a little segment filmed about Gladys Taber. I got Gladys Taber on the brain, about Susan Branch that was going to be in my video this morning, but it was just too long, and I couldn't. So, all right. Oh, Jen, saying hi to everybody. This was probably before we came on, so thank you for doing that. And Chris Sozar says, hello, everyone. Hello, Chris. And Shelly says, hello.
Hi, Shelly.
Hi, Shelly. I'm guessing that Jen knows Shelly.
I do know Shelly, yes.
Awesome. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
And Diane, hello. Thanks for coming. And Cav, I know Cav. She says, I haven't caught up on all your videos yet, but I've enjoyed getting to know more about Gladys and her works this week. Awesome. Yeah, they're not, the videos are not going anywhere. So whenever you have time, I know my videos are pretty long, and feel free to listen to them sped up so that you can get through them faster. Excuse me. And Tiffany is probably telling Sonia congratulations for her 1,000 subscribers. Yes, Sonia has worked hard, and it's, Jen, you have too, because your channel has just grown.
Yes,
I didn't realize you had only been on a year. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Very awesome.
It
you have
is.
such a good aesthetic.
Thank you.
Everything is just
Thank you.
beautiful. You're always dressed up for your videos, and
I like to, be bright and cheerful, and welcome people into my reading life.
And I thought about you whenever I did my video this morning, my morning video. I filmed it yesterday, but I decided to film it in my living room because I have a yellow wall, and I'm always looking at your videos. You have like cheerful yellow, and I was like, I should film more in the living room where I have cheerful yellow.
Yeah, I can't. Oh, my computer camera is not that great, so they don't look as yellow on screen right now. But when I film with my regular camera, it looks better.
I love Jen. I love Lindsey's background, like all the books.
Oh yeah.
I'm always jealous of the people, like Mitzi is like that too. She always has all the books in her background. Like I just don't. I have multiple filming spaces, and it's usually where's the light best.
Well,
the light's almost never good here because I'm in Portland, Oregon, and it's gray almost all the time.
You're
I'm like horrible lighting, but I have the book background.
I knew you were on the West Coast, but I didn't realize you were in Oregon. Very cool. I've got some cousins that are in Rogue River, Oregon. One of these days, I want to go up and visit them.
That's my bucket list state.
Is it?
Oh, it's very pretty. Yeah.
Lindsey, have you always? Did you grow up in Oregon, or did you move
No. I've lived in a variety of places.
Okay. Yeah. I went to the University of Oregon. That's why I asked. So.
Okay. Okay.
Where is that?
That's in Eugene, which is about 2 hours south of Portland. So.
Okay. Is that where you
used to live in California? I lived in Sacramento, and I also lived in the Bay Area. I lived in Fremont.
Oh, that's where I grew up.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
You'll probably know some of the same people.
I worked at a couple of bookstores in Fremont, actually, when I was in college.
Oh, how fun. Very cool. All right, let me go back to Cav's comment. She says, I realized after watching Jen's video this afternoon that way back when I was a teen, I actually owned the Still Meadow excerpt book, the one that was put out by Hallmark. Oh, very cool. Do you have that one, Sonia? Okay, yeah. I've never seen it in person. I don't know.
This was like the easiest one to find. It's really inexpensive, and I see it all over the place. So if you're looking, if anyone's having trouble finding Gladys Taber, this Reveries at Still Meadow is like fairly easy to track down. So
when was it published?
1972, I want to say. Let me hang on, let me look. No, I can't remember. 1970, I think. Around there. Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah, I've never seen that one, but I'm gonna be on the lookout.
Yeah, it's lovely. The illustrations are really pretty too. So
very cool. Very cool. All right, so Mother Goose Librarian Amy, sorry, I should just say Amy. She says, Sonia, I just finished Susan Wittig Albert's book 4 in the Cottage Tales. I need to get to those this year. Those are books that I never see out in the wild either. They're on audio, I think, on Hoopla, but to just find the books randomly at bookstores, never see them anywhere.
I think I got the first one at Half Price Books was where I found the first one.
Yeah,
which I've read. I need to read the second one, so loved it. It's such a good.
I am diligently trying to collect them. I've read them all. Our library had them all, but I don't own them all because they're already
Thrift Books has them. I got the second one from Thrift Books. I think did I get a hard copy? I might have gotten a hard copy of it.
I think I have 4 of the 8.
Yeah,
I'm not familiar with the author. Is she in a similar vein as Gladys Taber?
Susan
No, she mostly writes mysteries.
Okay. So these are like a cozy mystery series?
Kind of cozy. I don't know. Would you say that her her
Beatrix Potter is almost like the first one is the mystery is very light. It's really mostly about Beatrix Potter's life. It's like a fictionalized,
and the animals. It's about the animals.
And then you do hear some of the story from the animals' perspective, which sounds kind of like a little twee, but it's not.
I love it. She tweet me all day. I love it.
Yeah, and see that's sometimes I'm like, nope, that loses me a little bit, but I think she really has a good balance. Like it's cozy enough without being like too cutesy cozy, which can sometimes happen when you do the anthropomorphization of animals. So
that's my vein. That's what I love.
And there you go.
Give me some Shady Hollow. Give me some Beatrix Potter. I'm all about it.
We're gonna read Shady Hollow for the Cozy Reader Book Club in June. I'm really excited.
I love that series.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Lindsey, she also wrote the Darling Dahlias, which is like a group of women that's like a cozy mystery series. And then she's got one that's based on plants and flowers. I don't know the name of it.
There's China Bayless.
China Bayless.
Right. Yeah.
And each of those titles is a different plant.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've not read any of them.
Well, I'll have to note her and see what I can find.
She's definitely very bad. Like she has a ton of books.
Yeah. Her Darling Dahlias and the China Bales, is it Bailey's? Bales? I don't know how you say it.
Bayles.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
But those I see all the time. But the Cottage Tales are like, they just don't exist out in the wild. Kind of like Gladys Taber. They don't exist out in the wild. So Amy says, Jen, I love Colwyn, especially the home cooking books. Now, see, I don't know who Colwyn is. So tell us again. I'm assuming you have videos about Colwyn.
I do have. Well, I haven't done a dedicated video to Lori Colwyn yet, but I will. That is coming.
Okay.
But yeah, I've read everything she wrote. She wrote from kind of the late 70s into the early 90s. She died very young at age like 42. She had cancer, and so tragically died well before she should have. And it's too bad because she wrote. I think she has 4 full-length novels, 2 collections of short stories, and then 2 nonfiction. The home cooking books are the nonfiction. So she was doing really like food memoirs before food memoirs were really a thing. And so home cooking it's just lovely. If you like that kind of cozy food writing, that's exactly what she does. And but she writes a lot. She lived in New York City, and so she writes just kind of slice of life. There might be a little bit of romance, but not like romance like a romance novel. It's just like that's an aspect of the book. I think if you're gonna start, if you've never read her, Happy All the Time is the book I always recommend. It's one of, if not my very favorite book. And it's about 2 couples and these 2 men who are cousins, and then the women they fall in love with, and it's just about them, and they're very kind of quirky and eccentric. Her characters are always kind of a little bit offbeat. And she just writes kind of about the simple things in life. She's very different from Gladys Taber, don't get me wrong. But if you like that sort of simple domesticity, Lori Colwyn excels at that. And just sort of interpersonal relationships, like how men and women interact with one another, how families interact. She's very good at that without being like maudlin or dysfunctional, or even if there are dysfunctional things going on, like she's just got a much lighter tone than some other authors writing nowadays. I just love her anyway.
And here's your comment back. You're rereading Home Cooking right now for the 5th time. Wow. So happy to be another Lori fan. Yeah. And Sonia, that sounds like right up your alley too, with the whole kitchen writing and everything.
I definitely give home cooking and more home cooking. I'm like, I have all her books are like right behind me, behind my banner right there. So
listening to you explain it reminds me a lot of Kim Fay, Love and Saffron.
Okay, so Kim Fay and I, I just met Kim Fay about a month ago, and when she came out here to do her book signing, and we connected because of Lori Colwyn through Lori Colwyn's child, actually, on Instagram. So yes, Kim Fay loves Lori Colwyn. If you've read her new book, Kate and Frida, Lori Colwyn is in that book, and there's a recipe that Kim got from Lori's Child specifically to put in the back of Kate and Frida that hadn't been published anywhere before. So that's really lovely.
That's
anyway,
cool.
yes. So if you do like Kim Fay, give Lori
I do. You were giving me Kim Fay vibes, so okay.
Yes.
You've got it. You've got it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I have never heard of Lori Cohen, but you know, I don't especially love cooking, but I love home things. My mom was a home ec teacher for 35 years. My sister was a home ec teacher. That was my major, and all of the kitschy, homey, domestic kind of subjects I'm drawn to.
Yeah.
So the book I've been trying to find everywhere, and I'm going to have to just break down and just buy it online. Although I like to try to find things organically out in the wild. But Anne Bogle used to talk about something called the Quotidian Mysteries by Kevin Forrest. Have you read that?
I've read it. Yeah.
I would love to read that. It just sounds like right up my alley. But
yeah, I think I had to get it on my Kindle because I couldn't find it anywhere either.
Really?
Yeah, it's hard to track down.
I think it's little, so
it's very slim. Yes,
it would get lost in a bookshelf if you're just doing used book shopping. So one of these days I'll find it, and maybe I'll just break down and buy it online. I don't know. Okay, so Tiffany, she's like, yes to Fanny Flagg, Jen Karen, and Miss Julia. Yes, my three favorites. They're my big three for more modern authors. And yay, Jen Karen is supposed to have a new book coming out this year. I did not think I thought she was retired. I didn't think she's going to write anymore. But there's going to be a new Mitford book coming out later this year. I'm excited.
Yeah, I love Miss Julia, especially when I want to like get in that vein of like I feel like I'm visiting with my grandma, like with how
oh my goodness
slang words that they use.
Have you guys either of y'all read Miss Julia by Amby Ross, the Miss Julia series?
I received it for Christmas. I just haven't read it yet.
That's right, you did.
I read the first one. Is it Miss Julia Speaks Her Mind? Is that the first one? Yeah, I read that years and years and years ago when I used to work in a bookstore.
Okay, cool, very cool. Yeah, I love that series. I own all of them. They're all lined up there on my shelf, and I've listened to them all on audio except for like the little novella. But one of these days, I'm just gonna sit down in my cozy chair and I'm gonna start with the first book and just crack it open and read it in print. That's it. And the same thing with Mitford, because I have listened to so many of my favorite books on audio, and the ones that I keep that I've collected are the ones that I want to go back and just sit down and open up and enjoy, even though they're available on audio. Although I did tell my daughter, I said, you know, if you ever have to put me in a nursing home, make sure I still have my old CD player because I have all the Mitford books on CD. If you'll just hook me up with, you know, make sure I have my CD player and my stack of Mitford on audio and my Bible on audio, then you can go off and do your thing and I'll be fine in my little room. And Cammie says, I love cozy and homey reads. Yes, me too. And Tiffany says, absolutely, Cammie. And Michael says, thank you all. And hopefully, Michael, you have left some other comments down here. R.A. Morley says, hey, Lizzie, Lindsey, Jen, Sonia. Hope we're having a lovely day. Yes, we are having a lovely day. And I hope you are having a lovely day. And Michael says, men need coziness too. That's
They
right.
Do. They do.
Yeah.
My Dan loves cozy things. Absolutely.
Very cool. Well, and right now my husband and I are watching the Waltons together. So he had watched it. He's 3 years younger than me. And so he had watched it some as a kid. And then I had gotten my mom a CD of a Walton's Christmas CD. And then when she died, I got it back and I started in memory of her. I would play it every Christmas and Thanksgiving while we were cooking. And that's just kind of become a tradition. We listen to Waltons and then we listen to Elvis Blue Christmas and then sometimes Rat Pack Christmas. You know, we have our traditional things. And so Randy, my husband, he said that last year at Christmas time at his work location, he works at Disney, they were asking about, you know, they were just chatting about Christmas traditions. And he said, oh, well, one of the things we always do is we listen to the Waltons while we're cooking, you know, Christmas and Thanksgiving. And this young kid, he's like, the Waltons? Who's that? What's that? And he's like,
I have never seen an episode of The Waltons.
Oh,
I haven't either.
You haven't either, Lindsay?
oh,
Oh,
I
man.
have.
They're great. They're
Yep.
great. They are just the quintessential family during the Depression, but they're not like I don't know. They're just wholesome moral values, that kind of thing. And they're not like dirt poor. You could tell that before the Depression hit, they had resources. They have a nice house and everything, but then the Depression hit. And so nobody has cash money. So they have to just really be frugal. They have to watch their pennies, but they have 7 children, and the way they manage their home and life and children and everything is just wonderful. I used to sit and watch it. It would come on Saturday nights, I think, and I watched it with my mom and my grandma. So it's a nice trip down memory lane to go back and watch John Boy and Elizabeth. The youngest one is Elizabeth. So, I always felt like they were saying goodnight to me when they'd say goodnight, Elizabeth. Just like, yes, Michael, we need coziness too. Hello, Felicia. She says, hello, everyone. Thank you for the videos and introducing me to Miss Gladys Taber. I'm looking forward to learning more about Miss Taber. Well, we are here for you. We love her too, and we were happy to share. I'm just so thankful that Sonia found a Gladys Taber book and told me about it. I mean, the stars were all aligned that day because that was perfect. So. All right. So Michael has not read any yet. He says, no, not yet. She's hard to find here in the Bay Area. I think it was Gina House where I first heard of Gladys Taber. Yeah. And we were hoping Gina was going to be on tonight, but she has not showed up. I think she thought she was going to be on. I hope she didn't forget. I hope she's okay. But she was, as far as I knew, she was going to be here tonight, but she has a beautiful Instagram page for any of y'all that don't know, that's called, well, she has her own, which is called Bab's Beloved Books, but then she has Friends of Gladys Taber account on Instagram. So if you go on Instagram and search Friends of Gladys Taber, then you will find her there. And she also has some YouTube videos. There's a really cute one that she did with Gina Stanier, who is also a Gladys Taber fan, but she could not do videos this week. And there's one where they're shopping together and they're at a bookstore, and she's like going around like filming the shelves, and there's a scene where there's a bunch of Gladys Taber books on the shelf, and I was like, oh my goodness, that's so fun to see that many Gladys books all together on the shelves.
Well, I have some exciting news about a Gladys Taber thing that I found. So, and you all will appreciate this because you love her too. I was, of course, doing research and found a set and ordered a set of Gladys Taber books that I already own, but I ordered them because one of them is autographed.
Oh,
that's so exciting.
It's on the way. So, but I will be, when I find extra ones, I've actually sold some on my Pingo shop. Not that I'm trying to promote that on here, but I want to get them out there for people. I've gifted a few. Fiona has one coming to Scotland. So, we're trying to get people to everybody, but yeah, I was so excited. I told Elizabeth, I was like, I feel kind of like a stalker and B, like a fangirl. Because I'm like, I get her autograph.
Well, and let's cheer about Mitzi too. So Mitzi ordered the only Gladys Taber book that all of her libraries had, and it came to her. And do you remember what it said? She took a picture and sent it to us. It was autographed by Gladys.
Oh.
Like to the library.
Wow.
And she's like, oh my goodness, that means that Gladys was probably at my library, or maybe somebody who worked there got her to sign it for them or something. I don't know. But I just think that's so neat that she actually had a book in her hand that was signed by Gladys.
Yeah, I think
Gladys touched it.
That's what I told
fangirls.
I told my husband that. I said, I'm going to get a book that she touched. And he was like, oh, yay. Weirdo.
Oh, goodness.
And
Michael says, love the coziness. And hello, Mark. So, Mark, are you still here? Do you want to come on? I think the link is in our Instagram chat. Come on in for a little bit and chat with us if you have time. We said we weren't going to go more than an hour, but if you can come on and tell us your, teenage boy Gladys Taber stories, we would love to hear it. Love it. So Michael said, all right, Tiffany says, Michael, I love that you read cozies, my favorite genre. Yes. And I think Michael sometimes comes to our Killing Time with Cozies live streams, doesn't he? I believe so.
Tiffany is the LeVar Burton of Cozy Mysteries.
Yeah. She's our Reading Rainbow leader. Yeah. And so Shelley says, I had never heard of Gladys Taber. I am reading her 101 short stories. And after I read the very first short story called Matchmakers, I hugged the book. I love it so much. I love that. That is so sweet. Let's all hug a Gladys Taber right now. Hug, right?
I'll hug too.
Very cool. Very cool. Oh, that's awesome. I love that. So now Steve mentioned, I think that there have been some of her articles that were put into book form, because you were talking about that, Jen, that you wish that could be done. Like the Especially Spaniels was a collection of her articles about dogs that she had published in some periodicals. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if the 101 short stories were some that were published individually in magazines too.
It is, yeah. I own that one, and I read it. And,
show us.
It does list. Where is it at here? It does list the different publications where it's pulled from.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Is that one illustrated? Did Edward Shinton illustrate that?
Let me see.
Or is it illustrations from the original magazines, or what?
There's no illustrations. Actually, there's no illustrations in this one. It's just the cover here, which is rare for a Gladys Taber book. But at least from what I can see, flipping through it. But yeah, it's pulled from like a bunch of a bunch of her articles. It's the only collection I found. Where it pulls from her.
That's very cool. I'm so glad you did that. Nice.
Did you know, so somebody who commented on my video said, and I love this, that her articles that she wrote for Family Circle, I guess her column or whatever, was called Butternut Wisdom. I love that. That's so lovely. Like, they should collect them all and call the book Butternut Wisdom.
Yeah.
You need to get in touch with a publisher somewhere who wants to do this.
Well, I'm hoping, because we're all big famous YouTubers,
right?
Somebody will watch one of us and be like, we need to release these.
Right.
That's why it's so important for us to keep hashtagging it, keep talking about it, because eventually one of us are going to trend. And this is going to be a big deal. I'm going to dream big. If I'm going to dream, I'm dreaming big.
Why not?
It's going to be a big deal, and these books will get re-released. Cozy is the catchword for everything right now.
Yeah.
Why would this not in the world? People are wearing prairie dresses. They're redoing Little House on the Prairie. Why wouldn't they want Gladys Taber?
Right.
What we need to do is have Susan Branch reach out to her publisher and have her publisher reissue Gladys Taber. That's what needs to happen, because Susan Branch loves Gladys Taber and she has influence.
She could, if anybody could do it, she could do it. Yeah.
If I ever see her again, I did meet her. She came here for a book signing a couple years ago, and so she's so lovely. Anyway, now she lives back living in California. I'm gonna have to go down to her house and be like, hey, Gladys.
and invite her to join us for this next year too. So,
oh my gosh, she probably would.
So Mitzi
so lovely.
Mitzi did reach out to her to try to maybe interview her for this week, but we didn't think about it until it was too late to make it happen.
Okay, next year we need to make that happen.
Yeah. So, because wouldn't that be amazing? Because today is Susan's birthday as well. Yep. So I just think that would be perfect.
It would.
All right, let's see who is next here. So Cammie says, I just received Still Meadow Road in the mail today. Yay! Yeah, that's the one I am reading. Still Meadow Road. It's a library copy. I love that I have my own copies of some, because I love to be able to mark them and everything. I've got one place marked in this one that I might read y'all in a minute if we have time. I already forgot what it was, and I just read it this morning. But
you saw my Still Meadow sampler.
Oh yeah,
I went through 2 of these full of them, and then had to, normally I only tab like 5 categories. 13. Just kept going.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I do remember what I marked this for. It's just one sentence, and this is in the March chapter. It says, another word for old fashioned is, of course, backward.
What was it?
Backward. Another word for old fashioned
Oh.
is, of course, backward.
So since we're all Gladys Taber fans, I have to ask you this because I know why I'm drawn to Gladys. It's not only her writing, but she reminds me of my grandmother. And I think and I'm a sentimental person and I'm a nostalgic person. And she draws me in because she reminds me of my granny. But what's more cozy than your granny's hugs?
Yeah.
You know, what's more cozy than that? So today I was making it, and I'll share this really quickly, and I'm sorry I don't want to take up a bunch of time.
No, you're
But I made a birthday card for Gladys and put it on my Instagram. But I was looking at a picture of my grandmother. My grandmother,
Oh,
Oh my
give
goodness.
us some more glasses.
Wow.
it's those Harlequin cat eye
Yeah.
glasses. But still, I mean, if you look at the two of them, I wish I had a picture of my granny smiling. She reminds me of my grandmother because she
Yes.
looks like my
Mhm.
grandmother.
For sure.
So
Yeah.
every time I see her covers, it just kind of like takes my breath away a little bit, you know.
Mhm.
Now, when I remember my grandmother most would be the 80s, and she didn't wear the Harlequin, you know, then that wasn't popular, but still, she just reminds me of her, and I think that's why I love her so much.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
You used 2 words, I think. Sentimental was one, and I forget what the
Nostalgia.
other one. Nostalgic. Those are both buzzwords for me. So that is why I enjoy her so much. I can just read the words, and I just it just makes me feel good.
It's a simpler,
Yes.
slow living,
Mhm.
The reflection of life and all of that.
right?
Yeah.
It makes me want to just hang clothes on a clothesline, and you
Right.
know, it really
Yeah.
does.
I did a lot of that when I was growing up. I
Me
don't
too.
necessarily need to do that.
My grandmother raised me. Me too.
Yeah, we had clotheslines when I was growing up on the farm. What about you guys? What made y'all want to read Gladys? I know, Lindsey, you found her because of some nature writing.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I've stopped with her because like this it reminds me like the simple times, and yeah, for sure right now. You know, when I need it.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think just that sort of slowing down and reflecting on those little things in life. I think our life is so fast paced right now, and there's so much, we get deluged with so much information that this kind of book just is so good to help you just stop and slow down and, you know, look at the world around you in a different way. You know, that like maybe all these go things, maybe that's not, maybe productivity and, you know, all of that isn't the most important thing. Maybe there are other things that we can focus on and spend our time and energies on, you know, in a slower, simpler, back to earth kind of way. And I appreciate that about her. Having not grown up, I mean, I grew up in, you know, California in the 70s and 80s in suburbia. And, you know, I mean, our life was simpler then, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't as simple as that kind of, you know, like farm living even. So I'm very drawn to that.
I think at Still Meadow, Jill helped balance Gladys. Gladys is probably, she would have just wanted to kind of hang out and pet the dogs and just enjoy life. And Jill was like the taskmaster.
Right.
You know, no, we have to get the gardening done. We have to get the canning done. We have to do this. We have to do that. You know, so I think they balance each other very well with their different work and
Right.
And
it's funny that you said that. I was just talking to my best friend today, and I said, you know, I was explaining Gladys. I don't know if she'll ever read Gladys Taber. It's not really her jam, but I was explaining it to her, and I said, Gladys and Jill remind me of you and I. Like we would get together, we would live together. We'd raise doodles because that's what she has, but I'll let you guess which one is which because you know me pretty well, Elizabeth. Which one would be the Gladys and which one would be the Jill? But I was like, I think you need that yin and yang with relationships, whether it be in, you know, your spouse or your best friend or whatever that is. And they really have that yin and yang, but it makes it work really well. It keeps everything running very smoothly.
Yeah. Sure. So Shelley was just telling us it was Constance Taber Colby. Yes, thank you. And Michael is saying cool to Cammie, and she says that sounds like my dream job. Yes, it is fun to work at the bookstore, and we don't have our liquidation store anymore, but for a long time I worked there, and when people would bring things in that they couldn't get credit for, if they didn't want to take it home, we put it in storage, and it was called our scratch and dent. So when our bookstore moved down the street and we still had a lease on the original building, our owners opened up a scratch and dent store for 2 months where we brought everything from storage and sold it at like fill a bag for $5. So that's where I found my Faith Baldwin. I found some Hal Borland, the other Hal Borland that I have that I can't find now, and I found a couple of Gladys Taber there and stuff, and that was so cool. It was a treasure trove of books. So yeah, I'm retired from Disney, which I had a dream job at Disney. I was a Disney performer for 30 years, and that was a dream job.
Wow. Is that in Orlando?
Yeah, I've performed on stage with Celine Dion and P.O. Bryson on the Beauty and the Beast stage, and I've been on Oprah doing that. We were on Oprah, and I've met, like, I got to just stand in the back of the room and chit chat with Jerry Lewis while at the time his 4-year-old son was meeting Mickey Mouse, and I mean I just got to do some really amazing things. So that was definitely a dream job. But now that that's all done, I love working in a bookstore too. I do. I love it a lot.
Well, Elizabeth, I'll have to tell you, you got to do all of those things, but Penny Marshall did not ask you where to get a good pizza in St. Louis.
Oh, that's very cool.
When you're the only big girl in the group, she's the one you ask.
I remember you talking about that she asked you where to get a pizza.
Looked me up and down and said, where you get a good pizza in St. Louis? I'm like, yeah, ask the fat chick.
And who did you say it was? I missed who you
Penny Marshall.
Wait, okay.
That is hilarious.
Yeah. That's my claim to fame. Penny Marshall asked me where to get a good pizza because everyone else around me looked like models and I did not.
Well, see, so you at least got a chance to talk to her. So.
I did.
That's funny. All right. And Cammie says, thank you for the invitation. Yes, and you could still change your mind. And Diane says, I've known of Gladys for many years. Very cool. And Teresa says, I knew about her, but I haven't read her. I'm looking for her books. They are hard to find. And I got to thinking, because I was kind of looking around on eBay, and it's kind of slim pickings right now. And I thought, well, it's probably because all of us have been ordering. There's not.
I know at least 4 people have ordered books on eBay in the last week.
Yeah. And even Steve was like, he said in his video today, he said something about, he's like, yeah, now there's probably going to be they're going to, the prices are going to skyrocket on eBay too after this event, after
that's what happens when we popular booktubers start talking about things.
We are.
Right.
Cammie says she started reading Gladys in 2020, and that was a great year for reading. I read 430 books in 2020 because what else were we going to do? We were stuck at home.
Wow.
Like 330 of them were audio, but
that's still impressive.
Yeah, I needed Gladys Taber in 2020. I should have discovered
it better.
Yeah. Me too.
Sure.
I know. I just was rereading everything because I was like, I can't focus on anything new.
I had a horrible reading year in 2020. I could not.
Yeah.
My brain, there was just too much.
I just turned to reading, and my daughter even read, who didn't ever read classics. She's more of a Hunger Games girl. She pulled out a copy that my mother-in-law had given her of Little Women. And during COVID, she would go outside every morning in the yard where it was pleasant and read Little Women. And she got about 2/3 of the way through it. And she was like 16 at the time. She comes in and she's like, Mom, this is really good. And she was kind of sheepish about it because she'd always said, I'll never read that. I don't want to read those old things, But yeah, she enjoyed it. So yeah, 2020 was definitely a good year for reading for us here. So Shelley says she was able to get a copy of Mrs. Daffodil from her local library. Very cool. Hopefully it's in nicer condition than Sonia's. Poor thing. That poor thing has been through it.
I'm surprised the library kept it.
I know.
They've been through it.
I know. That's what I was saying. I'm glad that some little young upstart didn't like go through weeding one day and go, "Oh, what is this?" and take it out of. It must get checked out.
It must, yeah.
Well, I am going to turn on the CHARM when I turn it back in and be like, I just love this book. Is there any possible way if something would happen to it? Could I? Because I mean, the binding is going. I mean, she's seen it.
Yeah.
It has that old fashioned.
Yeah.
You totally done that. And then they got it. They received it. There's a stamp on the receivable date. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh yeah.
1957.
Oh wow.
God.
So they had it long time.
Wow.
It smells old.
That is cool.
Yeah, I
books are
haven't thought to check
old.
if my library has any. I've just found them out in the wild and
You should
bookstores.
check.
So I'll have to see if my library has.
Hey Pat, how are you? Nice to see you. And here's our cheerleader, Pat. Don't forget to thumbs up. Thanks, Pat. We never think about it, and Pat is always the one that reminds us. Thank you so much.
Pat, I hope that you're healing, honey. I know that you've been going through some things with your foot. I hope you are healing. You've been in my prayers.
Yes, let us know how you're doing. And Breezy is here.
Breezy
says, I first heard of Gladys on Lindsey's channel. Yay. I ordered a copy of Still Meadow and Sugar Bridge online, and that was my first acquisition. Finally cracked it open this week. Yay. That's awesome. Yeah. I'm so glad you did. So if we did any good this week, convinced you to open up your book. Very cool. Oh, that's awesome. And Breezy has a channel. Have you done any videos lately, Breezy? I don't know if I haven't seen any pop up, but sometimes I miss my notifications, so I need to go check and see if she has. And Diane says, I've known of Gladys for many years. I used to take them out of the library. I only own Still Meadow Sampler, and I'm looking for more of her books. There are none of her books on my library system. That is a shame that there are none there. One thing I was thinking of that I wonder if Gladys could go back and rearrange the titles of her books, she would make them match up. Because if you noticed how like Sampler really should be seasons, because Sampler is broken into seasons, and Still Meadow
seasons is monthly.
Yeah, and
Still Meadow calendar. Yeah, Still Meadow calendar.
Still Meadow Day Book, or one of them is just got numbered chapters. Even though they go by the months, it's still they're numbered, but yet the title would lead you to believe that it might be seasons. I don't know. It's like, okay, the titles got all messed up.
She wouldn't though, because she was kind of like, Jill would have done that. Jill would have been like, I know something later.
That's funny. And Michael says the book in my thumbnail. Oh, Meet Your Baker. Okay, by L.A. Alexander.
I almost said that. I was like, that looks like a Meet Your Baker. Yeah, I love it.
I see that now. I see that. That's what it is. Have you read that series, Lindsey? Because
I read the first book.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I've been to Ashland. It's a really, really pretty place.
And L.A. Alexander has a big festival up there now too in Ashland.
Yeah, they're talking about that in the comments.
To make my way there. I think it's like in October
October, second week of October.
Yeah, I think Tiffany has gone the last couple of years.
Yeah, Sonia and Michael are talking about it in the comments.
Nice, very cool. Yeah, I would love to go up there. And Teresa says, "I love Susan Branch. Yeah, she's great, and I love how it's all handwritten." And Shelley says, "Hi, Jen." Hi, Michael says, "Fremont." Tiffany, I know Tiffany loves the Darling Dahlia series. She says it's more of a cozy mystery series and one of her favorite series of all times. Yes, I've got a couple of those. I need to get busy reading those, but I know Tiffany, when you get her started on them, she's like, I love them. And Teresa says, I love the Cottage Tales of Beatrix Potter. I had all 8, but lost 4 in a move. Oh, no, they are hard to find. Yeah. Very hard to find. And Tiffany says, Michael, I love the Bake Shop series. This is my 3rd year going to Ashland Mystery Festival in October. Yeah, so it is October. Very cool. Kemi says, Teresa, yes, Beatrix Potter is another great author. Oh, yeah, well, Beatrix Potter is, but we're just talking about Susan Wittig Albert, who wrote about Beatrix Potter, but Beatrix Potter herself. Now, did she write anything other than the little children's books like Mrs. Tiggy Winkle and all of them?
No. I think she did illustrations for others, but I think that she only wrote for herself, from what I recall after reading books about her.
Okay.
Don't quote me. I'm not an expert. I don't have a master's degree in Beatrix Potter, but I don't think she wrote anything else.
Yeah, I
As
think
far
that
as
was it.
Beatrix Potter, she did have another series, but it was children's series of something in a castle or something like that. But it was all of her books are children's books. I don't think she had any adult books.
Okay.
Correct me, anybody, if I'm wrong, but
Okay.
from what I
I
recall, I
have
don't.
just read Peter Rabbit, but I have gathered a few of her others. In fact, I just ran across a couple in my garage, and I handed one to Emily. I was like, "Here, you want to look at this?" I said, "We'll read this later." I forget which one it is. It's like Tiggy
Mrs. Tiggy Winkle.
Tiggy Winkle, I think is one of the ones I found. So, oh, Kimmy is saying hi to you, Mark. If you're still out there, he says hello again. Hello to Kimmy. She says, "Oh, Sonia, take a look. It's in a book."
The Reading Rainbow.
LeVar Burton. And Tiffany says, "Shelley, I love that. So sweet." Um, and Teresa says she first heard of Gladys Taber through Susan Branch. Yeah, that's how quite a few people have found him. Oh, Tiffany says, "Didn't you meet Jim Henson?" I didn't actually meet him, but I've seen him in person whenever we were rehearsing for the live action Muppet Show. He was there. I didn't get to perform for him. I didn't get picked to be the cast that got to do the show in rehearsal for him, but like when he was there, just they were getting everything ready. This is like 1990, I guess, when Here Come the Muppets opened. I mean, he would just be sitting in the cafeteria, in our cast member cafeteria. He'd just be sitting there eating, and it was just, he'd just walk in and out and he was just, good old Jim. He was just there, just being his real self and doing his thing. So I didn't actually get to ever talk to him or anything. I was kind of starstruck, but yeah, we were rehearsing for Here Come the Muppets and you can go online and see that it's on YouTube, the show Here Come the Muppets. I performed in that. I played Janice, the left-handed guitarist.
Electric Mayhem.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, we had like eight casts, I think, all together that initially learned the show. So they just picked the best ones to do it for him. But we were in rehearsal when he passed away, and we all came to work one day, and they're like, "Everybody just sit down. This is what happened." Jim Henson passed away, and we were just in shock, and they let us go home. And then the next day we came back and we're like, "We're going to do this show. We're going to do this, for Jim." So, we all loved the show. In fact, somebody from the old cast just posted a big cast picture on Facebook this morning. I was just looking at it and clicking like on it. But that was fun. Yeah.
I did my thesis paper on how Jim Henson and Fred Rogers changed public education.
Oh my goodness. Wow. And what did you do? You said
I did my thesis paper.
Thesis. Okay. You have a master's?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Good job.
Yeah. Wow. I did I defended how public television, children's public television changed education and the readiness of children as they come into school because they have watched educational programs like Jim Henson, Fred Rogers, Electric Company, things like that.
Nice. Oh, very cool. And I'm assuming you passed. You have your...
I do have it, yeah.
Very cool. Hello again, Felicia. She says, "So true. I have ordered several books. Cannot wait for them to arrive." I'm so glad. I hope you didn't have to pay a whole lot for them. When I first started paying attention to Gladys Taber, the book that's listed as the first book in Still Meadow series, you couldn't find it. What was it, like 50, or was it more than? I was over 100. Oh, I think it was like 300. Wasn't there a copy for 300, another one for 500?
Yeah,
I just thought, okay, that's way out of my range. And I didn't even put it on I should have saved a search on it though, because then I didn't think to look for it again. And I came back later and I searched again, and then I looked at solds, and one had sold for like 30, like within the last 3 months, from me looking it up. And I was like, why didn't I just save that search? But anyway.
Yeah, I love me some Gladys, but $300 for a book, unless she's going to narrate it to me personally, I don't know if I'm paying all that. Harvest at Still Meadow is her first one.
Yeah.
And there's another one called Still Meadow Harvest, and that's an older one. Talk about confusion. But that's the one that it's very, very hard to get a hold of.
Yeah. The Harvest is Still Meadow. And it might be a compilation of some of her shorter works that she did in magazines. That might have been what they did for her first book. I feel like I read that somewhere. So Michael says, I didn't know Ashland had a mystery festival. I usually go for the Shakespeare. Awesome. Yeah, we had a Shakespeare festival in Oklahoma where I grew up at Southeastern Oklahoma State University. So I grew up going to a lot of Shakespeare plays, and I can't read Shakespeare, but I've seen a lot of the plays, and I can appreciate them.
Yeah, we have one in St. Louis that's pretty awesome as well.
Nice.
Yeah, it's huge in Ashland. There's like all the hotels have like Shakespeare related themes, or there's like murals on the walls and everything.
Oh, so they have Shakespeare Festival. Okay,
Yeah,
so
it's huge.
Every year.
There's several different theaters. I haven't gone, but there's several different theaters, and
Yep.
yeah.
So Teresa says, Kimmy, yes, and a beautiful illustrator. Now, who is she talking about that was a beautiful illustrator?
Maybe Beatrix Potter.
Oh, Beatrix Potter. Yeah, probably so. Yeah. Michael says, Tiffany, I didn't know Ashland. Oh, no, I read that already. Okay. Okay. Mark says, have to run. Great live. Thank you. Well, we're glad you popped in at least, but we would have loved to have had you on. And Tiffany says, yes, Michael, put on by Ellie Alexander. Yes, it's going to be October 16th through the 19th this year. They are extending the Shakespeare Festival for the Ashland Mystery Festival this year. Okay, so it's going to overlap. That way people can do both. Oh, that's good. That's very cool. Breezy says, I don't have any videos up anymore. I just lurk. Oh, did you take your videos down? Oh, no. I didn't know you did that. Well, shoot. Shelley says, my copy of Mrs. Daffodil is also from 1957 and looks about the same as
Oh.
But you know what? It's the inside that counts. That's what I said about mine, because I have almost none of mine have dust jackets, and a couple of them are beat up, and it's the inside that counts. That's
Baby, you look good for your age.
Tiffany says, last year I did a panel and did a vlog of the festival for my channel. Yes, that's on her channel, Beach Bum Bookworm. Tickets go on sale this month for this year. Very cool. Cami says, thank you for attending, Mark. Very cool. Yeah, we're glad you popped in. Yeah. And that's your birthday weekend, Michael. Well,
Michael, go celebrate.
Yeah,
for sure. She says they always have a great show going on at the Oregon Cabaret. That sounds fun. Mm-hmm. And Tiffany says, Elizabeth, that was such a great impression of me. Oh, that's funny. Jill says, thank you for your collaboration on Glattus Taber. I look forward to reading some of her books. I have a couple on hold at my library. I also ordered the Amber books from Thrift Books. Yay. And you have those coming too, don't you, Jen?
Yes, I do. Yeah, Conversations with Amber and the other one.
The bind up. Yeah.
A very particular cat.
Yes. Yes.
There was in Steve's first video that he did on Monday, I think, he says something about, about how great Gladys Taber was, despite the fact that she loved cats. Steve is a well-known dog person. He does not like cats.
I love cats. I love our cats.
Yeah. So,
I want to know how Steve does 5 videos a day.
He does, literally, and sometimes 7.
That's insane. How is it?
I know. And he works from home. He writes, and he has his writing hours. Like he works, and gets his work done, and then he does a bunch of videos, and then he watches a bunch of videos and responds
and reads a ton.
He reads.
How?
Like
does he not sleep?
Caffeine must be his friend.
What?
Caffeine must be.
Yes, right.
But he is the fastest reader that I know. I want to say, and he won't ever say how many books that he reads in a month or a year or whatever. But do you remember the Reading Roads, Giselle and her husband, I forget his name now. They had Steve on a video, and they kept trying to pin him down. How many books do you read? How many books do you read? And I think he finally said something like 1,200 or something was like in a year.
And that was like way before. And I know he's always beating his previous year.
Yeah.
Who knows? It's probably like 15.
It's crazy fast. He reads. He must just look at the page and be able to read it. And, because that's just incredibly fast.
Yeah, that's incredibly fast.
It doesn't work like that over here.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, he talks about like not self-vocalizing. Like that's how he's like able to get through them. Yeah.
By not.
But Steve talks about like not self-vocalizing.
Yes. And see, I have to do that to figure out what I'm reading. I have to hear it back in my head, and that's why I read so slow. Yeah.
Do any of you follow Katie at book? What is? Oh gosh, I just blanked on Katie's channel. But she was talking about how some people just read the words, like see the words, and some people make pictures in their heads, and she doesn't make pictures in her head. And I'm like, I don't know how to read without making, like, I have this, it's like a whole world happening inside my brain. But my
Movie in
husband
my mind.
just reads the words. Like, he doesn't make pictures in his.
Yeah.
I was like, so interesting how people
Yeah.
read so differently.
No, it has to be a movie in my mind, or I'm not going to.
Katie
Yeah.
at Books and Things. Thank you, Michael. He
Okay.
just put in the comments.
Yeah, I don't know her.
She's
Wow.
She's British. She's fantastic. She's very smart. She works for a publisher. She's an author as well. But
I may have seen some of her videos.
Yeah, I have one of her books on my shelf over there. But
Oh,
I read her first. I need to get her second book. I read her first book, which I very much enjoyed. I need to get her second one. Mrs. Montgomery Hurst. Yes, The Trouble with Mrs. Montgomery Hurst. That's the second. That's her second book.
Yeah, it's a really pretty cover.
Heartwood Hall was her first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Neat.
I'm learning all kinds of things today.
This whole week, we're just
There you go.
It's been a great week for learning things.
BookTube is educational.
Where did I get to? So Teresa was talking about Beatrix Potter. Oh yeah, that about, I guess because I asked like what illustrator, books and things. Yes, thank you. Okay, oh good. I did not realize we were already at the bottom of the chat, so we did make it to the chat. Feel free to leave any other comments. I did say we were going to try to keep it to an hour. Sonia's got to go. She's got a date with her Dan, and
he's doing something right now.
Oh, he is. Oh, okay.
I will have to go soon because it's almost dinner time here.
One
But
question that I wanted to ask you guys is, so we each, presented at least one video this week about Gladys. After you finished filming and editing, was there anything that you forgot to include that you want to say tonight? Anything that you were like, oh man, I meant to include that in my video. I forgot to say that. I forgot to tell them about that. Is there anything that comes to mind that you would like to still share? Because right now, while we're talking about Gladys Taber, may as well share. And I'll put you all on the spot, but I'll just say mine is this. After I got out to my garage today and I was like, oh man, I just did a whole video where I talked about all this Hal Borland books. And now I had another one in my garage that I had forgotten all about. So yeah, that was my
I think mine would have been, I did that tonight. Like I shared the side-by-side picture of my granny and Gladys Taber, but also, what else? I shared that I have another set of books coming, and one of them is autographed, and I've been acting like I just got Prince's autograph or something, so, that probably would have been something else that I would have added. I just didn't, as I was filming, I didn't think about it. And well, on Monday when I shared my book collection, I didn't even have that.
I hadn't ordered it yet.
Right.
Very cool.
Yeah, I was just, the only thing I had meant to mention in my video was that I am going to join the Friends of Gladys Taber Club because their newsletter sounds really fantastic. And I'm I'm like, for $20 a year, this is what you get? Like that's
more, I think.
Yeah, like quarterly. I was like, sign me up. So yes.
I wonder if you can order back issues too, because that would be interesting.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
I don't know. You probably have to reach out because it sounds like it's all volunteer run. So, maybe if they could pull some together.
Yeah. And so in case y'all wonder what she's talking about, if you go on, I think it's a Friends of Gladys Taber website. There, or Gladys Taber Society is what it's called. They have a Facebook group. But if you just Google that, I remember I was looking at the other day and it's lavender. The background is lavender.
Yes.
So for $20 a year, you can join. And I think that $20 helps to, maybe they're the same group that runs the museum, like the Still Meadow, because isn't Still Meadow still open as a museum where you can go and visit it? In fact, Kimmy just said we need a book club trip to Still Meadow Farms.
That and going to like the Book Barn in Connecticut. I've always wanted to go there. Because you mentioned Christopher and Giselle Rhodes. They would do vlogs going to the Book Barn. And that's been like a dream bookstore location to go in Connecticut, along with Still Meadow.
Very cool. Yeah, absolutely. I would totally do that. And Tiffany says that would be awesome. It would be. So great.
Yeah.
So yeah, I lost my train of thought. What were we talking about? Oh,
Gladys
Sonia.
Taber,
She's coming back. Hang on.
book.
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
I will take. Oh wait, did
Oh.
I? Hang on. Who'd we lose?
Jen?
There we go.
Oh,
There
there
we
she
go.
comes.
Okay. I was trying to get rid of the empty one and bring Sonia back on. So okay, there we go. I lost my. What were we talking about? I lost my train of thought. But
We were talking about the website about.
Oh yeah. So I'm wondering if the money for that is what helps to support the museum, the Still Meadow Farm. So maybe I have no idea. But yeah, I'm happy to contribute to that, and I would love to go and visit. I love to go and visit home sites and stuff. We were talking about Laura Ingalls Wilder earlier. I've been to several of those. I think Lindsey, you've been to Pepin, right? That's one of the ones I have not been to, and I haven't been to Burr Oak, but I have been to Mansfield. Sonia, have you been to Mansfield? Now
I mean, I don't live super close to there, but I do live in the same state. I have not. I don't know why. I just haven't. It's not something that has really occurred to me until lately. I probably need to go to that. I have been to Walt Disney's Boyhood Home is also in Missouri. I've been there, but I've not been to Mansfield.
Where in Missouri is Walt Disney's home?
I knew you were going to ask me that. Starts with an M. Hold on.
And is it very far from you?
It is pretty far from me. It's like north and a little more west than I am. Okay. I'm almost smack dab, like right in the middle of the state. So anything in Missouri is kind of like, I'm 45 minutes from St. Louis, but I'm right on the Missouri River, like literally 500, 700 feet this way. So, yeah.
No wonder you had water cascading into your basement from the Missouri River.
I was thinking of the flooding. Yeah.
We're way high on Missouri River. Like we have the train tracks and we are way high. It's just because we get so much flooding that the water doesn't have anywhere to go.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Marceline, Missouri.
Okay. I've never heard that.
Well, Disney doesn't fund it at all. It's it's a little bit run down, but like his dreaming tree is there. That if you ever listen to Walt talk about his dreaming tree, where he came up with snow, all of these different things, it's there in that town, and they have a little bit of Disney memorabilia and stuff, but Disney does not fund it in any way. But Old Town USA was built exactly like downtown Marceline. So it's a reflection of the two. It's very interesting to go, like if it's kind of un-Disney-fied history, but it is about Walt and his family.
Very cool.
And his love of trains. It's a train town, so there's lots of trains, and they do have a Walt Disney Museum.
Nice. Well, if I come visit you, maybe we can head up there, and maybe next year. I didn't travel. I know when. Well, this would have been the time of year I would have traveled, but I didn't go this year.
And you could have went to that great big book sale that I've been to 3 days in a row, and you would have had the best time.
I know.
Filling bags.
We had to fight over the vintage books.
I'd have let you have them. You're a guest.
Oh, stop. Okay, so while I'm thinking about it, let's go ahead and go around and tell what you have coming up on your channel, and then we probably ought to try to sign out of here pretty soon because my husband's waiting on me to pay the income taxes. I would like to procrastinate on that a little bit. Like I said, we've already figured it. We just have to actually pay it. This was the first year we couldn't claim our daughter who's 21. So that made it not come out quite even, which is kind of poopy, but it is what it is. So Lindsey, what do you have coming up on your channel?
Well, I was thinking of since it's finally getting nice weather here, doing some outside videos, with the spring flowers and some kind of talking about Gladys Taber in nature, some kind of nature related content. I think would be nice.
Very cool. Yeah. Have you ever done a video outside?
I have.
You have? Okay, I'll have to go back and see. I have not.
Sporadically here and there.
Okay. Nice.
I guess I'm next. I don't know what I have coming next.
We've got Murder and Mayhem.
I do have the Murder and Mayhem. I was just actually thinking about that. I have the Murder and Mayhem readathon. I just did an announcement video where Nancy Drew was a guest star. You know, I know a lot of famous people apparently. 'Cause, you know, Anne Shirley was rolling around in the daffodils a couple of weeks ago, and now Nancy Drew came to my video. And I do have, I think I'm going to do a little, I'm definitely going to do a book haul, like I filmed at the book sale and all the, you know, I think that I have a big book haul video coming soon, but you never can tell what you're going to see on my channel.
Love that. My favorite guest of yours was Velma from Scooby-Doo.
Oh, yeah, she shows up every month. She'll show up again in September. We've already made the reservations and stuff.
Oh, Tiffany says Nancy Drew was not nice in that video.
You know, it's so funny. I am not good at competition things, honestly, because I mean I can talk smack. I can do, you know, I got enough actress in me, but I just want everybody to win. It's really hard for me to just be like, oh, we're gonna win, or we're gonna, you know, we're gonna kick your tail or whatever. When I'm like, oh yeah, you did that, and then I'm like, oh, I'm not supposed to be happy for you. I'm for you. I've always been competitive, but I've always wanted everybody else to win too. So I'm really, you know, and I love the people who are participating. Tiffany is one of them. She's on the masterminds. I'm on the sleuths. We have lassies. It's 3 teams competing against each other. It is really a lot of fun. Maddie from This Bookish Cottage is the one who invented it and organized it and did all of that. Amy Marie from Amy's Books and Things, she's doing it. Jules from Jules Books and Things. There's a bunch of people doing it. It is a lot of fun, and it's a bunch of YouTubers that I just love and adore. And I got to know last year through this, so it's kind of, you know, a little nostalgic and heartwarming too. We're not mean competitive. We just act that way.
Yeah, because it's like the theme is like bye bye booktuber.
Bye bye booktuber. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't always understand competitive readathons. I don't get how it all works, but I know you guys will have a great time. So I'm going to be doing middle grade May. But anyway, Jen, it's Jen's turn next. So tell us what you've got coming up.
Oh, well, you know, subject to change at any time, depending on what I get or what I film. But I am starting a new little series where I'm going to like shop and unhaul from my own bookshelves, because I'm doing a whole Read Your Bookshelves challenge this year. And so I just feel like I unhauled a bunch of books last month, and because I was feeling myself heading into a reading slump and I was feeling overwhelmed. So I think I'm going to like showcase, you know, a bookshelf and go just kind of shelf by shelf, and then try to unhaul some things and maybe discover what I want to read next. So that's coming up. And then
that's how I discovered Gladys.
See,
I cropped my shelves because I was getting rid of books.
I know, it's amazing. Like I've had books on my shelf since I worked in a bookstore like 30 years ago. So I haven't read yet. It's like, what? Read this or it's got to go. But yes. And then I'm sure I will have, I have a series called A Cuppa and a Chat, where I just kind of have a just kind of laid back kind of bookish chat. And I usually share other things like different teas I'm trying, or, you know, talk about my cross stitch or other things that are not necessarily super bookish, but bookish adjacent, cozy adjacent, I guess you might say. So, yeah, so coming up soon.
Awesome. Very cool. And I was excited to I just kind of recently discovered your channel. I think I first saw your March Mystery Madness video, and then I was watching the video where you were talking about how you were buddy reading with Melissa, the Gladys Taber book. And I was like, oh, she's reading Gladys Taber. Oh my goodness. I jumped
She's one of us. She's one of us.
Yeah, so very cool. So I am going to be involved in middle grade May again this year. And in case you're wondering, why is there a middle grade May? We just had middle grade March. It's because middle grade May was started way before middle grade March, but it was started by a smaller booktuber. It didn't really get off the ground, but then March Mystery Madness came along. And so middle grade May was officially retired by the creator of it, but a few people are like, well, we're so busy reading mysteries in March, let's go ahead and bring back middle grade May. So that's hosted by myself, Elizabeth Tyree, and Lee from Dark Roots Creations, and Storm from Storm Reads. And so announcement videos for that will be coming out in just a couple of days. So it's going to be kind of a how many people are here? I don't know. 19 people. All right. I don't think hopefully they won't care if I spill the beans a little bit on the theme. It's going to be kind of a Aesop's Fables type of theme, Tortoise and the Hare, because we are going to do kind of like goal setting. Like I'm kind of the one that suggested it because I have boxes and boxes of middle grade books and I just want to get through as many as I can. So I'm going to be the hare but you can be the tortoise. You can just read, and I'm aware that the tortoise usually wins, not the hare. But anyway, yeah, it's going to be just like kind of low key, not really any prompts, just but we are going to have a group read. Aesop's Fables is going to be our group read, and Beth is going to head that up. And then it's just going to be, pick a number, read how many middle grade books you want to read, and run your race at your own pace, that kind of thing. So that's what we're doing for that. And I usually do hashtag book a day in May for May. Okay. So that's part of the deal. So anyway, that is what I am up to. And of course, the Amish in April readathon is going to be starting on Friday the 18th, and go through the 27th, where you can read anything Amish themed. And that's my cat Harry back there. He's Prince Harry.
Oh, yeah, I've been watching him. Yeah,
he's a brat.
Oh.
He's a big old brat.
Isn't cat and brat kind of the same?
Yeah. He is. He's definitely. Nobody else in my family likes him except me. They really don't like him. My daughter Katie, when she comes home, she's like, he is.
Is he like a biter or scratcher or something?
Kind of, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I had one cat like that. Like he would like to be pet until he didn't, and then he wouldn't let you know. All of a sudden, he would like launch at you.
Yeah,
like, oh,
yeah.
Okay, that's cats for you. It's all good till it's not.
All right, so y'all heard the Tiffany. She says cool theme. So y'all heard it here first. Just don't tell the others that I spilled them.
Right, mom's the word.
Thank you, Cammie, for posting on Instagram. And I want to apologize. I didn't post more on Instagram. I meant to, but I couldn't figure out how to do it from my computer. And I should have done more from my phone. But there was some things I wanted to post from my computer, and I couldn't figure out how to do it. So I'm going to try to get better at Instagram this year. I'm not very good at Instagram. But let me go back because Tiffany had a couple of comments. She says, Nancy had no problem putting a picture of me with thumbs down. Tiffany and Sonia kind of have they have that frenemies kind of relationship.
No, she's my bestie. And we grew up in the 80s and 90s when, you picked on your friends. Yeah. That's how we show. Yeah. That's our way of showing love.
She says, all amazing people on all the teams. I love nature and book hauls. Yay. And then I got Cammie's and cool theme. All right. That's everybody. Okay. Very cool. So thank you all so much. This has been fantastic. In case I didn't say, I did make a playlist of all the videos, starting with our announcements and every single video that's been posted, all of ours, and then Steve's and Mark's and everything. And they're all in order from oldest to newest. And I'll add this live to the playlist. So anybody watching, if you are not sure if you saw everything, then go to the playlist. And y'all feel free to make a playlist on your channel too, if you want. It doesn't have to just be on mine. Because I think that this is going to be some videos that might be kind of evergreen. Because Sonia and I, when we first started talking about Glattus Taber, I know we both were searching and there was virtually nothing on YouTube about Glattus Taber. I have managed to find a few little things keep popping up. I wanted to mention Amy from Harthridge. She did a video, and I linked her channel in my video this morning, but I forgot to actually link the video where she did like a 5 cozy autumn recommendations, and one of them was Glattus Taber, and that's from like 3 years ago. And she comments to my channel sometimes. So anyway, but there's not a lot. So, hopefully as time goes on, if people find out about Glattus Taber or hear something about Glattus Taber, they will search and all of our videos will come up. So now there's going to be good stuff on
Yes.
YouTube about Gladys.
Mhm.
So thank you all for being a part of it. And I don't know if we'll do this again next year. I'll probably be traveling this time next year, but maybe we could, you know, each do one video next year, you know, something about Gladys to, you know, give a Gladys Taber reading update, you know, the Gladys Taber Book Club. And, you know, whether we take time to do a live stream or anything, just maybe acknowledge, you know, Gladys's birthday and something. I don't know if y'all want to do something. I'm certainly open to it, but I may end up. Hopefully, I'll be traveling. I may be back by this time, or I might not be. I don't know. It just
Well,
depends.
thank you for organizing.
Yes. Thank you for organizing,
thank you.
Elizabeth.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun, and you opened my eyes to a lot of booktubers that I wasn't familiar with, and I, you know, anything that I can get knowledge from or learn from or get get vibes from, I'm thrilled, and this has been a lot of fun this week. And that strawberry shortcake I made was out of sight, so not because it wasn't the chef, it was the recipe.
Oh, it made me so hungry. Oh my goodness, you have no idea how much I wanted to run out and go make that.
When
Yeah.
she said that, don't bother this, that the sponge cake, I was cackling, and Dan was like, "You say that all the time." I said, "I know."
Oh, and let me also give a shout out to Gina Stanier. She's got some health issues in her family, and she's a Gladys Taber fan, and you know, would have certainly made a video, I'm sure, if she could have. But yeah,
I adore her. I love her so much.
Gina has the best channel.
Yes, she has a great
she
channel.
loves cozy stuff too. So yeah, all of y'all are peas in a pod. You and Sonia and Jen, all the cozy.
All of us cozy folks.
Yep.
Yes. So, all right. Well, I guess we better get off of here. And thank you all for coming. There. Did we catch all the? Oh, that's our love language. Oh, I know. I just didn't know if everybody else would know, but I know you guys. That is your love language. Yeah, for sure. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for being here with me. And as I like to end all my videos, read a good book and God bless you. And thank you all for being here. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.